So I bought this dress for vacation, but there's a few things wrong with it. One, the sleeves are way too big for me, as you can see. And then the other thing, like if I turn to the side, you can see like sticking out at like some almost 90-degree angle, 45-degree angle. So I want to take out some of the tulle as well. That will make it sit a bit better. So if you want to see how we transform a dress, then make sure you keep on watching. So I've laid my dress on the table. I'm starting with the easiest thing, which is the straps. So I want to take the straps in, like I've said. I'm going to adjust the back of the straps. And to do that, I could either cut it off or seam rip it. I ended up doing a bit of both. So there's 2 stitches that are attaching this strap. So I seam rip that first strap or first stitch, and then I cut it off afterwards, just to make sure that when I cut it, there isn't any fraying pieces of the fabric being left behind, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm just going ahead and seam ripping out this strap, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut it. It makes it so much easier or neater if you seam rip from the back of the dress or the inside of the dress, just to make sure that when you are doing or seam ripping it, you're not snagging the front of the fabric or the front of the dress. So I've seam ripped that first stitch for both seams. I'm just going to go ahead and take my fabric scissors, and I'm cutting as closely to the dress as possible, granted without cutting the dress, just to cut off those 2 straps. I've also left behind a tiny bit of the strap that we had before, just so that I can use that as a guide to know where I'm going to reattach these straps to. So now that I have cut off one side of the strap, all I'm going to do is find where the strap was before, and I'm going to measure 1 inch. You can mark it. I could mark it if it's easier, but I'm just going to hold it. Put that, line it back up with the strap, which I've just lost. Okay, so the strap used to be here. So I'm just lining this point up with the strap. Then I'm just going to pin that in place and repeat that for the other strap as well. So again, I'm measuring 1 inch up. You can either mark it, or I'm just going to pinch it. I'm going to find the remnant of the strap that was there before, and I'm going to line it up and pin this strap back onto that, just to secure it in place before we stitch it. So I'm stitching it on my sewing machine just because it's so much quicker and I was so pressed for time. You could do this by hand if you don't have a sewing machine instead. You just need to do a back stitch to secure that strap in place. Granted, using white thread and just a normal hand needle. So I'm going to put the sewing stitch length and width on the screen just so you can follow that if you want to. So now we have fixed the sleeve. I'm going to fix the skirt because it's just way too puffy for me. And to fix it, I'm just going to take in some of the tulle, and to do that, I'm just finding how much I want to take it in by, and it should be by the back section, which is here. I'm going to take it in by this much, and I'm just going to have to stitch from the top here all the way down, and then find a way to cut it off really neatly as well, and then stitch it closed. So as you can see, I'm just going ahead and popping in a few pins all the way across. At the end, once you've pinned it, it will look like a weird kind of triangle, but I'm just pinning from the very top all the way down. So I'm not stitching the back lining at all, I'm just stitching the tulle section. So I'm stitching as close to the top of that skirt, so the lining of that skirt, without actually stitching over it. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'm just going to go stitch that again on my sewing machine using a straight stitch. Granted, again, you could stitch this by hand, it just will take you a tiny bit longer, and again, I'd recommend doing a back stitch if you're doing it by hand. So hopefully the lighting is good enough for you to see what I'm doing. So basically I have stitched the tulle doing that weird triangle thing. Now I'm just going back in with my scissors and I'm going to cut along that line. Granted, I'm not cutting out where I've stitched, I'm just cutting it to make the seam allowance about quarter of an inch all the way down. I'm going to try it on to make sure it doesn't need any more adjustments. Right, so I'm going back and taking in the dress again, just for the tulle side. So I'm trying to find where I put a pin somewhere in all of this. Here it is. So I've just pinned it and tried it on to show like how much I actually want to take into the tool. So as you can see, I wasn't taking this much, but I want it to come all the way up here. So I'm just going to turn it this way. And then again, I'm going through the same process of pinning all the way up. So it's kind of like a weird triangle. It is fine if it overlaps in places, at least for my purposes, just because it means we're cutting off more excess, which is fine as long as the bottom stays neat, as long as the bottom, the trim lines up in the right place, then I know that we are on the right track. I've pinned all along there, then I'm just going to stitch down and again cut the excess, and I'm going to try it on to see what it looks like. So this is the final result. As you can see, the straps are not budging and the dress looks a bit flatter as well. So if you did enjoy this tutorial, let me know and I will see you in this one next. See you. Bye guys.
This smile, girl.